What's going on, sci-fi fans? My name is Ben and welcome back to a brand new episode of Sci-Fi Wednesdays. Today we are announcing an entry into a group build, and I'm going to show you guys the kit that we're going to be working on for that group build. Now, first off, we're actually going to be entering into the Apollo group build. It's being hosted by the UKscalemodeller, and it actually has anything to do with space and space exploration. It can be sci-fi, it can be based in reality. You can do chase planes that NASA flew, or you can do space shuttles. You can do sci-fi realm like Star Wars, Star Trek, Battlestar Galactica, anything you want that's sci-fi, it's fair game. So I've chosen to go ahead and do this. Now this is a 1/1000 scale USS Kelvin made by Moebius. This is from the 2009 Star Trek from the J.J. Abrams reboot. And I gotta tell you, say what you will about the movie, I think the USS Kelvin was the best thing to come out of that whole entire flick. I didn't like the new Enterprise design, but I really loved the Kelvin. It just had a different look about it, just enough similarities from the original series, and just enough differences from kind of a reimagining that I just dug the ship, for sure. I thought it was really, really cool. Best part of the movie. Now, I had heard about this being released by Moebius. It just came out in February. I went ahead and picked it up just a couple of weeks ago. I'm going to go ahead and open it up for you guys, and we'll take a look at it, and I'll show you what my plans are for the kit. And we're talking about a little bit extras that I'm going to go ahead and put into this kit itself too, because I actually want to try lighting it with a lighting kit that I picked up from Voodoo FX. So first, let's go ahead and check out the box, open it up, see what these parts look like. So we're going to go ahead and just go through each individual sprue, and I'm going to take a look at some of the details and all the instructions and the decals and all the clear parts, and just kind of get an idea about what I'm actually getting myself into. The actual group build goes from the 11th of April all the way till July 20th. So I do have some time, but I'm just biting off a lot here with this kit, so I might need every second of those days. So here we have the decals. They're all kind of sealed up in plastic. I don't really want to undo those, keep them safe. This is actually really cool here. This is actually a printout for the Aztecing, because like any starship, you have Aztecing here, and this gives you 4 different templates for different colors. You have dark grays and light grays and medium grays. So you can use these as templates. You can maybe cut them out with frisket paper, and then you can airbrush the different patterns, and you can overlay them. Well, that's really, really awesome. So this I'm actually going to have to make multiple copies of, so I have enough to go ahead and cut out and use and just really have fun with this one. This is going to be a lot easier than my Enterprise for sure. Now here are the instructions. As you can see, Moebius always does these really awesome, colorized, really nice, high quality instructions. And this is no different. We have a picture of the ship. We have all the little details down here. So it's looking awesome. Open it up here. We have all the steps. We start up with the saucer section. We actually have the ability to go ahead and model the phaser turrets in the deployed position or in the retracted position, depending on what we want to do. We'll probably do them in the deployed because that looks kind of cool. Over here, we of course have the upper decking here for the shuttle bay and the deflector dish, as well as the clear parts for those. Other page, we have the single warp nacelle. We will have a couple different areas here we have to fool with, including the rear light of some sort, and then of course the front Bassard collector. And then we just put it all together with a stand and a base. So that doesn't look too difficult to do in theory. Now this is where Moebius really, really shines, because they actually show you a picture of the kit built up in all of its glory. And as you can see here, well, hopefully you can see here, there are actually Aztec patterns all over this thing. On the nacelle, on the hangar bay, on the saucer. And over on this other page, we have every single bit of information about the Aztecing process. So we go through which colors to use, which templates to use, how to go about approaching this. I mean, it's great. So much information. 4 stages here for the different Aztecing. So like I said, this is going to be a lot easier than my Enterprise E that I built, where I kind of just hand did and just kind of did artistic Aztecing. This is a definite pattern. So that will be really helpful, the fact that they give you that pattern in that printout. So honestly, Moebius, thumbs up here. This is very, very nice for them to do. So that's kind of the instructions, and I'm really excited here. But I did mention that we had purchased a lighting kit. So a lighting kit we actually picked up from Voodoo FX. They're an online company, and I got to tell you, that is going to be really, really awesome, because the Voodoo FX kit for the USS Kelvin gives you enough of the lighting material to go ahead and light most of the major areas here on the ship, such as you can go ahead and light the rear of the nacelle. There's a blue LED that kind of glows there, which is kind of weird because there's no actual thrust from these warp nacelles, if I remember correctly. So why it glows back there, I don't know. Doesn't matter. We can also light the deflector dish up top here. We can also light the bridge and that has a very large light in it, and the impulse engines, of course, at the very back of the saucer, and the front Bussard collector, as well as the side strips here of light. Those are also lit up by that rear nacelle light. So these are the kind of major areas that the instructions tell us that we can light, and it shows you full details about how to go ahead and set all these lights up. And that is well worth like the $35 I spent on the lighting kit itself. So honestly, if you guys are interested in lighting models, go check out Voodoo FX. I'm not sponsored by them or anything, though I would love to be, if you know what I mean. But for the most part, check them out. They've got great lighting kits on there, and you might really find something awesome. Now, even though the lighting kit does light the major areas of the kit, we still don't have everything lit. And for that, I'm actually thinking about adding in some fiber optic and then installing a secondary lighting source. And let me show you why. If we look here at some of the detailed parts, for example, the edge of the saucer, they have these very tiny portholes that run the perimeter of the actual saucer. Now, they're not all over the place as much as you would like on the newer Enterprises, but they definitely have a little bit of light that comes through. So to compensate for that, I might want to install a secondary lighting source and run some fiber optic. Of course, we have here the upper top section for the deflector dish and the shuttle bay. As you can see as well here, right along the spine, there are portholes all along there. We have several areas that have portholes that we could potentially light as well. We also have the docking ports here on the side. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities with this kit in order to go ahead and get them lit up. Now, I don't know if I'm going to do all of that, but it's nice to know that I have that option. On the single warp nacelle, we also have certain areas here and there that should also be lit, such as right here at the neck, there are a few portholes right up here. And then even spread around through the actual nacelle itself, we have different portholes here and there. So that's going to be a little interesting to see if we can't somehow work in a few of them. Now, I'm not saying we do all of them, just a little bit here and there to kind of give some extra interest. And again, I don't want to mess with the actual Voodoo FX lighting kit, so I might just kind of make something of my own with some fiber optics. Moving on to the saucer section, this is a pretty thick saucer section, and we have to install a couple of lights here, especially one for the bridge and then one for the impulse engines. So there's at least 2 LEDs that are going to go up into the saucer section. Now, if we go ahead and decide to run some of the fiber optics, we will have to be poking holes here and there and maybe cut out some of the large supports. There's a little step here as well and a couple of portholes that pop out here and there. So those might need to be lit as well. And to do that, it's going to be a little interesting because they are raised. And we might want to do something called blooming, where you actually take your fiber optic and you push it through the opening that you have, and then you touch it just the tip of it with like a lighter or a match or something, and it'll misshapen that fiber optic tip, and then you can pull it back into that little porthole, and it should, in theory, be just fine. As you can see here, we have some raised panel lines, some raised sheeting. We do have the areas here for the phaser cannons, which is really awesome, and then we have the larger phaser emitters. That's lots of detail on this particular area. On the underside of this, we have a lot of support structures here, as you can see, and this is actually really nice, but it may interfere with me mounting LEDs or mounting anything else in there, so that's a little on the annoying side. And there are actually little areas that should be lit along this bottom section, just little pinholes, but I don't know if I'll do all of those. Now, I believe these are the actual turrets themselves. They could use a little bit of cleanup and a little bit of detailing. Overall, though, they're not too bad. I think it'll be fun to deploy them open and maybe kind of shift them around a bit as if they're shooting different angles. So that might be kind of fun to do. And then, of course, we have our plaque for the USS Kelvin with the registry number and the shipyard. But if you notice, I was hoping for something a bit more rectangular. Instead, it's kind of tilted over, and I'm not really digging that. I actually want it to be a bit more symmetrical for this. But again, I mean, it's very nicely molded. I could actually make a mold of this and maybe use those letterings and custom create my own base. I'm going to have to go ahead and house some electronics in there. So that actually might be something we might look at. Now, the Voodoo FX lighting kit itself looks awesome, and let me just show you what comes in a package when you order it. You get everything you need to go ahead and light all those areas I talked about before. So the bridge, the deflector dish, the Bussard collector, the impulse engine, and then, of course, the rear of the nacelle and those little strips of light along the nacelle. You get ribbon cable, you get all the LEDs you need, blue and white and yellow. You also get a nice, very positive feeling switch, which is very cool. You also get any sort of resistors and a light diffusing tube. So you get everything you need, even heat shrink tubing, you get that as well. So you get all the parts and pieces. So this is actually a really, really nice kit. Now, I haven't used any of it, but the instructions are very clear. Randy over there at Voodoo FX, he really did his work on this, and honestly, I can't wait to crack into this one for sure. Now, aside from having that Voodoo FX lighting kit, I do want to try something a little bit different. I want to try to add some extra lighting, and for that, I picked up this. Now, this is a roll of fiber optic light pipes. Very, very cheap on Amazon. It's like $8. You get a ton of it. They're pretty tiny, but I should be able to go ahead and use a drill bit, and we should be able to string this and poke them through different portholes and lights around the saucer section and around the bridge section as well. Really, honestly, that should be a very nice way of adding a bit more light in very specific areas without having to damage, rework, or do anything with the Voodoo FX lighting. I'm going to use that as one complete unit and just add maybe a secondary lighting source somewhere in the base, and then thread the fiber optic cabling to where I need it. Now you might be wondering, how am I going to go ahead and drill out some of these portholes? Well, I went on Amazon and I picked up micro drill bits, everything from 0.3 of a millimeter all the way up to 1.6 of a millimeter. So in theory, I should be able to go ahead and find my correct size in here somewhere, and we should be able to go ahead and drill out the portholes that we need, and then we can string our fiber optics and all of that good stuff. We also went out and picked up some heat shrink tubing of different sizes and colors, just in case, you never know. And then, of course, I have my trusty old soldering iron. Now, I actually haven't done any soldering for, well, a long time, probably a good 4 years, maybe 5 years. I used to build like microphone cables and audio cables for my friend, so I haven't done any soldering for a good long while. I have my stand, I have my iron, I have pretty much everything I need to go ahead and just give it a shot. So I myself am very excited about the prospects of this. So that's the kit I'm going to be building for the Apollo group build. I'm super excited to go ahead and crack into this one. We have a lot of firsts here for this as well, not only electrical, but also just the idea of building the USS Kelvin. I've never built one of these before because it just came out like a month or so ago. So I'm very excited to give it a shot. I've got all the parts and pieces I need. So we're just going to go ahead and dive right on in head first next week, and we're going to just play around with some soldering and see if we can't maybe build up a basic idea of what the electronics are going to go ahead and look like. Lots to do here, guys. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to make it work, but I'm very excited to try it, and hopefully you guys will come along for the ride. So until next time, everybody, thank you so much for joining me here on Sci-Fi Wednesdays. Until the next episode, go out there, get yourself some bench time, have some fun, build something cool, and we'll see you next time here on Sci-Fi Wednesdays. Thanks so much, everybody. Take care.